I went to Muir. I was a little kid, didn't know any better, claiming blood to a Crip neighborhood and getting into fights, getting kicked out of Muir and going to Marshall and graduating Marshall. I was a tough kid, but it made me who I am, I think, today.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key. Thank you for tuning in and spending this time with us, and we hope to give you another interesting guest in another episode here. And, today's guest is coming right from the heart of, a special place for us, for our guests. Many of our guests have named Old Pasadena as one of their SGV3, and it's certainly a place that many people here in the San Gabriel Valley treasure, right?
Yeah, it's a very unique and very special place. During the past year and a half, when we went through a closure and then things started to come back to life, but Old Pasadena was always pretty good compared to other areas in terms of, it was dead for a while, but, some people really, it was nice to have our own health department because it was a little more, I guess, liberal than the county or the state. But I'm sure our guest today has a lot of opinions on the Pasadena Health Department. But, the little alleys of Old Pasadena did continue to thrive. In particular, I'm talking about the alley that our guest's restaurant is in, and I think he had a lot to do with making it active and thriving. And I suppose thriving, he's going to say that's not the word for it, because it was a very difficult time for everybody. But it seems to me that Old Pasadena and Mills Alley, I believe is the correct name for it, or Mills Lane, actually emerged better than what it was like before the pandemic. Mm-hmm. But let's get right to the horse's mouth if we can.
Yeah. So today we have restaurateur, owner of Edwin Mills by Equator, right? Teddy Bedjakian, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So your connection to the SGV is pretty obvious. You have a restaurant in Old Pasadena, and it's called Edwin Mills, right? Let's start with the name. So tell us about the name.
Well, originally Edwin Mills was called the Equator.
Okay.
Equator started in 92, which was a coffee house. I went into the business around 96. By 2005 is when I got stuck between the turf war, which I call between Starbucks and Coffee Bean. So their ultimate goal was to take out the mom and pop coffee shops. So local coffee shops were closing down left and right because at that time, people preferred to wait in long lines and have some burned coffee. So my thing was, by 2005, that was my first fear of, okay, how am I going to keep my doors open? Where, yes, I was there, I was all ages, and every kid probably growing up in Pasadena has been to Equator because we had the open mic nights, we had poetry nights, we hosted local artists for artwork. We had Friday nights was the karaoke night where you get 15-year-olds, 14-year-olds come down and have a cup of coffee, sing karaoke, and everybody was having a great time. But by 2005, my thing was this. I said, okay, I'm going to apply for the liquor license, which is every September. And there's 400 participants that joined the liquor license. And if I get it, I was meant to stay at the location. Well, sure enough, I submitted my paperwork. By October, I got a letter saying that I won the liquor license.
Is this like a lottery?
It's a lottery. It's a state lottery every September that it takes place. Because you either have to pay $150,000 to buy a liquor license, or you submit $100, and if you win, then it'll cost you $13,000 to almost $20,000. It'll cost you for a liquor license. So it's a huge difference, especially coming from a coffee industry where the profit margin is not so great. So it was a blessing for me. By 2013 is when I was standing outside, and I noticed people walking by. They're going, "Oh, that's Equator Coffee House," and they kept walking. But at that time, at 2006, I already had the liquor license. I already had the kitchen running, everything running. So I said, okay, I need to rebrand myself. So the side alley is called Edwin Ward Alley. So I took Edwin from there. And then the main street is Mills Place. So I took Mills from there. So since Equator was my baby, I didn't want to let that go.
Okay.
And when people say, how did you come up with the name Equator? Well, originally the name Equator came from all the coffee beans that fell on the equator. Kenya, Ecuador, the coffee beans fell on the equator. So that's how Equator was established. We were the first Equator. Now you can see one in Venice Beach, Oregon, everywhere else. So I kept the baby, the Equator, and I said, okay, it's Edwin Mills. There's two side streets right by Equator. And therefore, that's how Equator was set up.
Wow. Well, let's paint the picture for the listening audience, because many may not know where Old Pasadena is. And this specific place, it's, Old Pasadena is mainly Colorado Boulevard, right? But there's a few alleys that offshoot from there. And this alley, I would describe it as the buildings that surround it are preserved, right? The facade has not changed very much in maybe 100 years or so. And it's very lively. It's very active. Like, people are walking around back there, right?
But I think it's more active and vibrant now than I ever remember it being before.
Exactly.
Is it because of the outside dining?
It's not only because of the outside dining. It's because the bands that I started bringing in.
Well,
like
that was another thing I noticed, and that again is just a very recent thing. I didn't notice that before the pandemic.
Before the pandemic, the live music was inside.
Okay.
And then what happened was, when the pandemic kicked in, the city said you can't have any live entertainment. But at that point, I was already, so much frustration was on me and so much anger was on me. Then I said, screw this. People need music. People need the jazz. People need to feel like they're alive. So I transformed. And at that time, there was a wonderful Filipino family right across from my establishment, Cafe 86. Wonderful family. And they had no choice but to close their doors. And so between their closing of their doors, Little Sheep closed their doors, the sushi place closed their doors, Volcano next door is dead, closed down. I said, okay, I can make this my own little Paris. So I talked to the landlord across the street. I said, hey, I would love to use your patio. I will put the tent and everything else. I'll maintain it. And they agreed with me. And, especially being there over 20-something years in that alley, I have some seniority in the alley. Because the kind of person I am is, if you see me, you'll get intimidated by me. But if you get to know me, I have a great heart. And I've helped everybody through that alley. I've helped Burke Williams when they first started through the alley. And every other business that you see there, I made sure that I helped them with their paper process, the inspections, and everything that goes on. Because I believe you do good, you get good back. So that's what made the alley start thriving again. People saw people and they started coming down, versus before the pandemic, a lot of people don't walk down alleys. They kind of think it's like a little sketchy, why am I going to walk down the alley? They just stick straightly to the main Colorado Boulevard. But then when they come to the restaurant, and to me, to be a restaurateur is, you have to love people to be in the restaurant business. And I love people. So when they come to the restaurant, I try to do my best to go to every table, to touch table. And especially when there's tourists, I give them the history about Old Pasadena, I tell them how Old Pasadena was set up, established, the meaning of my alley, what the alley was, which was not a lot of people know is the original Chinatown.
Oh, I didn't know that.
See, a lot of people don't know that. See, each historical building in Old Pasadena has a plaque on there. Now, the SGV, something special to me when I told you is my building itself, which was originally called China Palace in 1856. And a lot of people don't know that. My plaque on my building will tell you there was a billiard house where a lot of the rich and famous people hung out. Now, the corner building on Mills Place, which was Barbara's building, it's a white building, their plaque will tell you there was a Chinese laundromat. Next door to me was the sheriff's station, and down the street was the old fire station, okay? So my area of the restaurant right now is the horse stable, where the original horse stable is. The front section, which was the China Palace, was on Fair Oaks. Underneath me, where the print shop uses their storage, is the old opium den, which nobody knew that. Now that tunnel leads to Cheesecake Factory, which they're using it as their office space. It goes across Fair Oaks and above to the parking structure. Well, back then, the Chinese can only conduct business underground.
So there's a whole underground complex then.
There's a whole underground complex. If you walk on Colorado from Bedjakian and so forth, you can notice the little glasses that are on the floor of Colorado Boulevard. Well, those glasses are the old light system for the tunnels underneath.
Oh, wow.
Okay? So back then, the Asians can only conduct business underground. Now, the corner building on Mills Place, Barbara's building, the plaque will tell you there was a Chinese laundromat. Well, in 1890, a kid takes a stone, hits the lantern, burns down the laundromat. So a big fight takes place in Mills Place, where all the Chinese were gathered and thrown out of Pasadena. At the same time, the original Union Square, where the train station is downtown LA, that was the original Chinatown. Well, they threw them out overnight from that location, okay? So everybody gathered by Hill and created their own Chinatown. So the reason my plaque will tell you that it was a famous billiard house where a lot of the rich businessmen hung out is because the tunnels. The alcohol was smuggled through the tunnels, and that was a famous billiard house.
Wow, that is fascinating.
See, a lot of people don't know that.
I had no idea.
Did you know why all our alleys are named after generals? General McCormick Alley, which is where Brooke Williams is. General Edwin Ward, which is my alley next door to me, that owned the whole corner block. Well, after the Mexican War, there was only 3 families that were allowed to have properties. It was a Riverside family, San Bernardino family, and it was Don Benito family. Well, Don Benito fell in love with Pasadena, and the generals fell in love with Pasadena because of the orange fields. So they created Old Pasadena as you know now. But each general named the alley after themselves because they all took a corner slot of the land. So when you walk down Old Town and you go through these alleys, take time to read the alleys and the historic plaques on there, because they'll tell you all the generals' names that owned the alley. Now, every year, the generals would walk down Old Town, and the businessmen, as a thank you, would throw roses at them once a year, till there was only one general left, and he wanted the tradition to continue. And the Rose Parade was set up.
Yeah, that's interesting. Right? I never even knew that the plaques were on the buildings down there.
Yeah, every historical building has a plaque on there.
Wow. This show, we've had many guests on this show who have maybe been born in a different country, and they share their journey here coming up and as a business owner. Where are you originally from, Teddy?
Originally, when we came to America, it was the former Soviet Union, Armenia. You know, we had the red passport and everything. My father was a MiG pilot, you know, Russian military. My mother was an engineer in my country. And coming to the U.S., now the only reason we were able to get out that quick from Armenia because my father was born in Jerusalem. So to their consideration, we were Russian Jews. So it's easy for them to throw us out. And coming from a communist country where they take everything away from you and put you in a train, you know, we had nothing. We ended up in Lebanon in 1978. You know, never seen war in my life, and there goes the war. The bombs are dropping. We're underneath the churches and everything hiding. And went through a lot of headache on that till we came to Pasadena, California in 1979. Lived up there by Lake and Ladera. Now, keep in mind, I've never been around black folks before, right? So here's a 7-year-old kid in a complete black neighborhood, and we were all the white family in the neighborhood back then, you know. And it was hard for me. It's hard for me to get into it, and
Well, do you remember being in the Soviet Union?
of course.
And where did you live in the Soviet Union?
We lived in
Armenia.
In Armenia,
Okay.
we've been to Leningrad, St. Petersburg. I see my mother wait in line for bread. I see my father get arrested for selling dollars and rubles exchanges on the street. And then coming to Pasadena, growing up in that neighborhood, that only made you tougher. But the beautiful, some kind of a beauty about Pasadena, that no matter how much you fought with these people around you, and the next day you became best friends. And then, it's just, I went to Muir. I was a little kid, didn't know any better, claiming blood, and then to a Crip neighborhood and getting into fights, getting kicked out of Muir and going to Marshall and graduating Marshall. And I was a tough kid. But it made me who I am, I think, today. And the beautiful thing about it is that, my wife would sometimes say when we first got married, like, we can move somewhere, do this. I go, why would I want to live out of Pasadena? My connection to the trash company, my connection to the city, my connection to the police department. These are the same kids I grew up with, same kids I fought with. Because back then, they would hire you by the color of your skin. So to me, as, being considered a white kid, the opportunity wasn't there to get hired because a lot of my black friends were all getting hired for the city jobs. And I couldn't get hired for the city job. So that's where all my connections came through there. But I think I'm a diehard Pasadena resident, and I can't see myself anywhere else.
And you've spent all your life here?
All my life.
I mean, since age 7?
Correct. At age 18, when I graduated high school, my parents realized that I'm a little bit of a tough guy. So they wanted to shape me up. So they shipped me out to Salt Lake City, Utah. So my uncles out there could mold me into a man, a human being, versus getting in trouble constantly.
And how did that work?
Look at here. One uncle taught me how to talk to women. The other uncle taught me how to dress. The uncle that taught me how to dress, a lot of his clientele were a lot of the gay clientele in Salt Lake City. And, it opened my eyes. It opened my eyes as far as knowing the fact that I'm an entrepreneurship, knowing the fact that, my mother would beg me to go to college and get a college degree. And I would tell my mom, I said, Mom, the teacher sitting there is making $30,000 a year, teaching me how to become a businessman. I'm not going to go sit in class and learn from that idiot. It's like going to a marriage counselor where the guy is a therapist in front of you, already got divorced twice, 3 times, and he's telling me how a marriage should be. So I had that kind of a mentality. So when I was with my uncles with his gay clientele, and I saw how their togetherness, helping each other out, teach me fashion, teach me that there is no time for hate. Whether you're gay, straight, black, white, we're all equal. There's enough money to be made. And I brought that mentality here in Pasadena, where back then, a lot of people were still homophobic, and their eyes didn't open up to everything. And it allowed me to take my career to the next level. It allowed me, because I'm the type of person that I could blend with everybody now. And that's what it taught me there, living in Utah. And I love Utah. I loved it because it teaches you family values. It teaches you friendship, barbecues, constant peace, love. Your neighbors knowing the fact that you're not Mormon, you're Christian, but yet they would knock on your door and ask you, hey, I made this pie for you. You go to a stop sign back then and they say, no, please, you go. No, please, you go. That kindness was a big shock to me, which I brought that kindness back when I moved back to Pasadena.
How long did you live there?
5 years.
So you came back home, and so you're just a dyed-in-the-wool Pasadenan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we call it? Pasadenan?
Pasadenian?
Pasadena.
No.
I was in Armenia now. The high in the back.
People may be a little bit confused as to, your description of Pasadena as being tough because we have described Pasadena as this, beautiful city and a wonderful place, but there are pockets of Pasadena that are considered really, tough neighborhoods, namely, I would say Northwest Pasadena, right?
And also the city has changed a lot, though.
Well, you got to understand, growing up in Pasadena, we weren't allowed to come to Old Town. Old Pasadena, I guess that's the stupid people call it now. Back then, we weren't allowed because only the drunks, the drug addicts, and the hookers hung out in Old Pasadena growing up. So growing up Pasadena, we were known that, okay, your parents are going to drop you off at Rose City Diner because that's where the kids went.
Where was that, or where is
Rose
that?
City Diner was located right there in the corner of Fair Oaks and Green Street. It was an old 50s diner that the kids hung out, especially from prom and anything. That's the only place we had to go to hang out was Rose City Diner. And the parents would go to Market City Diner, which is up the street. And Sal and Chip were on both locations. And that was the main spot. Then Mi Piaci came along. Santorini came along. 35er was always there, and the porn shop was always there, and the pawn shop was always there. But we weren't allowed. We weren't allowed to walk out of the Rose City Diner and go up to Colorado. That was a big no-no. It was too dangerous. Fair Oaks and Washington, that's where everybody knew that the crack dealers were hanging out at the King's Manor. So you weren't allowed to travel on Washington coming to Fair Oaks, especially if you weren't connected back then. So now, for me, when I go up to Altadena in the areas where a lot of the fights that we had, and you see this white woman jogging, it's a shocking experience because, man, we weren't allowed to be in this neighborhood back then, and things have changed big time. Things have changed when I remember a lot of my friends, their grandparents' houses, they knocked on the door and said, look, we got a house for you in Moreno Valley already paid off. Here's the $50,000. We want your house. And a lot of the grandparents, they agreed to that. And a lot of people don't know about that one either. And they all moved to Riverside. And that's when the investors came in, redid the Victorian homes. And next thing we know, overnight, homes are going for $1 million and $2 million. I mean, when I bought my house, when I moved back from Salt Lake City in 95, I bought it at $226 as a bank repo. And now I look at it and go, 1.3, 1.4, what the hell? It's changed a lot.
Yeah, and Old Pasadena, Old Town, however you want to refer to it, that's changed a lot too. It's gone through, even after it became somewhat trendy, I would say in the 90s, right?
We were the hottest spot.
Yeah.
Imagine
it's changed since then, too.
It has, because back then you would get a citation if the police officer saw your car twice on Colorado Boulevard. You would be considered cruising.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're the hottest spot. But what the city of Pasadena did that they screw up is they went through a phase of, they're saying they're oversaturated with alcohol licenses. So when they went through that phase, not realizing that things are changing around them. At that time, we didn't have downtown LA, right? LA Live wasn't set up yet. I believe the first place that was set up was the Grove. They redid the Santa Monica 3rd Street Promenade. Then LA Live started going active. So you lost more customers going that way. Then you saw the Arcadia renovation of the mall over there and dragged more people that way.
And that's about the 90s, mid-90s?
Late 90s already.
Late 90s?
Late 90s, early 2000s.
Isn't that when they changed also the Pasadena shopping? Yeah, Paseo, Colorado.
Paseo, Colorado, which we, as kids growing up, we called that the cursed mall. That location never made it. Ever since they found that kid's body in the trash, we felt like that area was cursed. And no matter what they did to that mall location, they can never make it thrive. They can never make it. And whoever designed that was a complete idiot. Stairs go up, stairs go down. Come on. What are you doing? Copying San Diego Mall? It didn't work out that way. The energy, as I like to do everything like feng shui, the feng shui wasn't there to that mall to make it thrive and happen.
Yeah, it's a really unusual layout. The parking is really difficult. The layout is odd. And there's no real draw, for the stores that are there. And now the movie theater is gone.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But what is the draw anymore? You have to understand the reason Old Pasadena was Old Pasadena because we had unique individual mom and pop restaurants. But what happened was when the parents passed away, when the children took over the properties, the children are going at a current market value rate and not realizing that the only thing a current value rate that could be afforded is by big corporations. So every location you go, it's like a cookie cutter location. It doesn't make sense anymore. Cheesecake, Hooters, Apple.
I remember when Goldstein's bagel bakery was there.
Yeah.
Okay. So I enjoyed that. That was like, I'd love to go there and, buy a bagel and sit there. But then that became, Tiffany's or something. It was a big change in probably the early 2000s.
Right.
2005,
Right.
2006 maybe.
No, Tiffany's was the old movie theater.
Yeah, right.
United Movie Theater, which was originally before that, it was a produce location. Goldstein Bakery was where Panerai, whatever bakery was that they closed down too. La Pan, they closed down too.
They just recently closed, didn't they?
They closed during the pandemic. They closed all their locations. But back then we had Ernie's Taco. That's the only hangout you had way in the old days. A lot of history in Pasadena, and that's one of my things, the beauty of the architecture, the beauty of the historical department keeping everything intact. If a brick falls off my building, I better not go to Home Depot and buy a brick.
Right.
It has to be certified historical brick in order for me to put it on.
That is one thing that I really like about Pasadena, just the strength of the historical organizations here.
Yeah.
And
I mean, look how beautiful the city is. I mean, you have Bungalow Heaven.
Yeah.
You have the Craftsman Home. You have the beautiful buildings like my establishment's in, where you tell people it's an old horse stable barn because they sit at the bar. They go, why is one side high, one side low?
Yeah.
I said, well, back then they used to wash out the manure out the front door. So I left part of the history
great
right
place
there and
for
then.
a restaurant.
Hey.
Well,
but you have you have been there for over 20 years.
Correct.
And probably you've got more of a history there than anyone. I mean, who was there before you?
I think the oldest ones that I will say that were there, besides a bar being 35ers, would be Santorini and Mipiaci. Another great family-owned businesses. But I think the unique differences between them and myself was I was on my own versus a lot of these places, they had investors. They had money backing them up. And that's a huge difference in this business. Because if I have a set salary, a set paycheck coming every week, I wouldn't stress as much. And because of the pandemic, where it took you from being a debt-free business to putting yourself into debt, I wouldn't be so anti-government and so pissed off at what happened to me.
Yeah, and that I think is worth going into. And I may have really misstated it when I said that, the alley has started to thrive during the pandemic. I'm sure from the point of view of the businessman who's financing that whole thing, it's not thriving. But the atmosphere is like Paris. It is a great atmosphere, and it didn't exist before. I mean, it has been a clear change from what was before the pandemic.
Right. And what we're trying to do is, my main fear was that the Alcohol Beverage Control, ABC, once this was over, they're going to take away our outdoor liquor licenses. So that's another fear that I have right now, is that, okay, we got so used to the outdoor dining, and people got used to the outdoor dining. And majority of the people are like sheeps. You train them 1 year to do something, they'll stick to that, and they don't want to change themselves. They don't think outside the box. And my main fear was, okay, if the Alcohol Beverage Control takes away the liquor licenses for the outdoor dining, we're basically screwed, because we didn't come with a huge outdoor patio like some restaurants do. And so I've been pushing, and Chipper, who owns Jake's in the Corner, has been pushing to Steve Madison and Victor Gordo, that a lot of the restaurateurs made sure that we get Victor Gordo in the office as the mayor of Pasadena, to get that alley closed off at a certain time. So that's what we're trying to push for. And if we get the alley closed down after a certain time, like the rest of the alleys, then it'll be better for me. Then I'll feel more relaxed. Then I could apply to the alcohol beverage control and say, hey, I want to put up my permits for my outdoor dining.
What do you mean closed down?
Well, my alley is still technically considered a street.
Oh,
it's not
yes, because
considered an alley.
you do see vehicles come down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I see. So you want to close it so
After
that
a
there's
certain
no
time,
vehicles.
I want to close the alley. And it's really hard because you have two main anchors that are keeping Old Pasadena alive. And a lot of people don't know this. It's Cheesecake Factory and the Apple Store. Those are your main two big anchors in the city. If they go, Old Pasadena will go. Because majority of people come to Old Pasadena just to walk around, and some people already automatically cheesecake. Big tax revenue. And the Apple Store, constant deliveries coming, constant people driving to drop off their equipment. So that alley is a main center for their deliveries and their customers that I have. So that's where we're having a hard time trying to convince them, let's say after 5 o'clock, put the barricades like the pillars that they have across everywhere else, you know.
Well, we have our guests bring an item of significance, and it sort of ties into what you brought or had in mind. And oftentimes, or sometimes, guests cannot bring their item with us. So had you been able to bring your item, Teddy, what would you have brought?
I would have brought my building.
And you shared a lot about the history. Is there more that you want to share?
Well, a lot of people to me, when they come to me to try to restaurant and say, okay, you're considered New American. So what is New American to you? And to me, because the history of the building, because of originally being called China Palace, you can find a lot of Asian influences that I have in the food. When you walk into my restaurant, you know, I'm a strong believer. I don't know what you call me, a spiritualist, but I believe in feng shui. I believe in the yin and the yang. So you will see the Buddha inside my restaurants, but then you will see Michael Hussar's artwork all over my walls, which is more a little bit darker art. So that's my yin and my yang, to bring in the energy. And when you walk into the restaurant, you feel that energy that I have set up inside. So to me, that is the number one thing that if I would have brought with you, it would be my building, because the beauty of the building. The family has owned this since the 30s. So you won't see any earthquake retrofit. You won't see any smoke detectors or sprinklers, right? Because that's grandfathered in. But imagine it lasted through your Northridge earthquake. It lasted so many earthquakes. And the way this building was built, I mean, you don't build buildings like that anymore.
Right. You know, there's a lot of people have been negatively impacted by the pandemic. And certainly the restaurant industry has really felt that among other people. And I know that there's a lot of things that have directly impacted you. And you obviously have survived that, but are still maybe feeling those effects. I'd love to hear your perspective on that. But let's take a quick break and we'll come back to that.
The legal process can be intimidating. You don't know where to start and you're unsure of what to expect. The attorneys and staff at the law offices of Scott Warmoth have been serving the San Gabriel Valley for over 35 years, helping people just like you navigate through the legal process and ensuring you're treated fairly. You can find them at law888.com or call 626-282-6868. That's 626-282-6868.
All right, we're back with Teddy. Before the break, you were telling us about how wonderful the government's response to the pandemic was, and you absolutely loved everything that they did, right?
Those assholes. Well, you hit a touchy spot.
Okay.
So you want to know the real Teddy? This is where the real Teddy starts.
Okay, here we go.
You know, everything is screwed up. Everything is screwed up with the government and everything else. And I'll tell you why. When the pandemic hit, I got tired of their lies. The number one thing, government lies. You know, we're going to be shut down for 2 weeks. No problem. 2 weeks came and left. No answers. You're sending emails, you're calling phone numbers, like what's going on? They're still not allowing you to open up. I carried that weight for me for 1 month. paying payroll, everything, not knowing what's going on, right? And then you end up finding out that, it's going to get longer than that. So first thing you do is you lay off your employees because you can't afford them, right? So I laid off 20 great employees. And then a month later, the idiots come and tell you, by the way, we'll give you some PPP loans for the payroll protection program. Frustrating. Like, why are you guys backwards, right? And nobody's telling you what's going on. So here we go again. I'm trying to hire people at this point. And then in reality, why would anybody want to come back to work? Because at that point, when you apply for the PPP, they don't know what the paperwork they're going through. That process is taking more than 30 days to get it through. Your doors are still closed. So you have to make decisions. So my number one decision was, okay, till I wait till the bank tells me what's going on, now I got to go to my begging call to the mafia. And when I say mafia, Postmates, Uber Eats, Grubhub is who I call mafia. Because now you're going to bring them to the table. Okay, I need your help, guys. I've never been a to-go place. This is jazz, music, and dining establishment. No problem, Teddy. We'll take care of you. We're going to send you the iPad and everything else. Oh, by the way, it's going to cost you 30%. I go, 30%? What do you mean 30%? I mean, I know friends that have their fast food places. They negotiated 20%. Some have 18%. Oh, no, because of the pandemic, it's going to be 30% now. So they know they already got you by the balls. You have no choice, right? So here I go, signing up Uber Eats, signing up Grubhub, Postmates. And it's not just by signing up. You sign up, but now I got to go inside every site and set up my whole menu. Type it one by one, price it one by one. And then when people don't know that you're a fast food kind of a place, not a lot of people are searching for you. Then, your orders come in after you got your PPP loan coming in, 100 a day, 200 a day. I go, man, that's not even enough to keep my chef up and going. So went through a lot of hard times, and the pain of, okay, we're open. No, you're closed. Okay, you're open. Oh, by the way, there's a curfew because there might be rioters coming in town. Rioters for what? Oh, George Floyd, this, that. And I went into psycho mode because to me, people became so stupid. In 2007, 2008, we bailed out the banks. Okay? Taxpayers' money bailed out the banks. And all the banks had to do was step up and freeze everybody's mortgage. They'll know they'll get their money from the federal government. They know they'll be taken care of. But if they only stepped up and froze the mortgage, then the people who are paying rent wouldn't stress out. The people that are businessmen like myself wouldn't stress out. I was fortunate. Because Calvin Smith loves me, as that's my landlord. He loves me. And he said, Ted, don't worry. We'll make it into a payment plan. You'll slowly pay it off. Don't worry. But the anger that built inside of me is when I saw people like the Filipino family, Cafe 86, and knowing the fact that I'm an immigrant, I started off with nothing and I built everything. I could somehow feel their pain. I could feel the pain of the Chinese family that had the little sheep, the sushi restaurant next door to it, and it just kept making me angrier and angrier. And this is not who I want to be. I was always had the mentality of you complain, you remain. You praise, you'll be raised. By complaining, all you're doing is allowing negativity to come inside of you. But by praising and being thankful for it, you're welcoming nothing but positivity in your life. That's the mentality I always been with. But then I saw myself changing because I started complaining a lot. And I hated it. So that's why on social media, every Monday, it was my venting session, which I tell myself was cheaper than paying a therapist, right? And I released my anger, And I started being anti-government. I started talking crap about them, about the looters and everything else going on. I go, who are these kids? The woke generation, the politically correct generation. You cannot be a politically correct or woke generation when you're Google and when you're Coca-Cola, but then in the third world countries, when people have no rights, you yet support them. You cannot turn around and tell these kids that you're anti-guns, this and that, when you see their politicians walking around with the fully loaded automatics with their bodyguards. You can't tell people that you're an environmentalist, you care for the environment, when you're driving a Suburban and you're flying your jets. But these kids are blinded. The media wasn't media anymore. News media is not that. We learned that the FBI is corrupt because of the pandemic. The court system's corrupt. Our politicians are corrupt. Everybody's on the payroll. And us as business owners, we were just stuck seeing all this negativity around us and going, what the hell? And they were like a bunch of pigeons. They throw little crumbs on us. Oh, here's a $25,000 grant. Oh, here's a $10,000 grant. Oh, by the way, we need your books, your full books. Open all your books in front of us, and we'll give you a loan. And what loan was it? $120,000? You'll pay us back in 30 years. Don't worry about it. And then they come back and get, okay, would you like an increase? Why, yes. For 2 months, we're waiting for the restaurant revitalization loan, whatever they call it. 2 months waiting for that one. Extension of our loans, 2 months waiting for that one. And we submitted all the paperwork. So that's why I ended up bringing in new clienteles and the new followers on social media, is because people were tired. People were tired with constantly negativity, constantly walking around looking for something, looking for an anger, instead of saying that, how can I make things better for myself? And I started cussing young kids out. I said, look, to me, you as a young man, find out who you really are. You're mixing into politics where you shouldn't be mixing into politics. Whether it's the BLM, what is a Marxist organization, they don't do nothing about it when their leader buys a $2 million, $3 million house. Whether it's Antifa, a violent organization. But nobody sees that. I tell them, first find out who you are. Then set yourself a foundation, which is my home. Then fill that home with happiness as far as family goes, relationship goes. And once you set up that family and your relationship with your little dog and your little cat, worry about your community. Do service in your community. I mean, for the past almost 28 years, I've been with the Pasadena Host Lions Club, and I help the blind and hearing impaired. I'm a past president. I was a treasurer for Vista Nova Home for the Blind. Till today, I work with Salvation Army, helping the drunks, the homeless. I work with the vet hunters and the forgottens. And when I have time, we go up there over the Pasadena bridges in downtown LA, go to camp, tent to tent to find out who's a vet. And they only will talk to a fellow veteran. So we bring them along so we get their paperwork filled out. So they know that they're entitled to health benefits. They're entitled to, get help from the government, because a lot of these people don't know. So that's what I tell these kids. It says, worry about your community. But your new generation, you're jumping a step ahead and worry about what the government's going on and who the president is. No, you're going too far ahead, because those big dogs don't care about you. They don't care anything about you, not the people. They're all good bullshitters. Eventually, all their shit's floating on top. And that's what you'll find out. That was just a game. I originally said about this COVID and all this crap that it's biologically made. There's no way thousands of years you eat a bat, you hump a bat, and all of a sudden this disease comes through. Come on. Just like the AIDS pandemic. Today, Chicago says that we're fully open. Chicago. Are you kidding me? The amount of black friends that I have that are anti-government bullshit, believing in the virus shots. Blacks don't listen to anything the government tells you with antivirus, getting the shots. But then all of a sudden, Chicago's up and running. But yet California, we're still stuck. It's just lies after lies that you stop believing into everything. And it made me stronger. It made me harder. It made me start caring for people. And it started creating the 17,000 followers that I have on social media that eventually started believing in a lot of my rants. Because I get attacked a lot. They would attack me for everything that I say wrong on social media. And to me, it was happiness. Come on, come and get me. What you got next? Because there's no way you could judge me. I get judged by every young kid that comes in front of me. What are you going to say? I'm an immigrant. There's nothing you could tell me that I don't know. I came from a communist country, so you can tell me nothing about communism that I don't know. And I'm a businessman, right? I made a rant about the illegals coming in. And I simply said, when is enough enough? Right away, people attacked me, first of all, because I called them illegals. Hey, I'm sorry, I was brought up like that. But one thing they don't understand is all these illegals that are coming in here, why don't they allow me to hire them? The number one problem every restaurateur right now in Pasadena has, we don't have staff. And these are immigrants that would appreciate the work that you give them. They will be thankful for you, that the work that you give them. Are you kidding me? $15 an hour to somebody who makes $20 a month? This is joy. But yet I had to read the legalities on social media saying instead of protesting over BS stuff, right? This government's dividing us and you guys don't even see it. I said, oh, my Latinos, what happened to your DACA? Your boys in the office, what happened to your DACA? You guys are not protesting on that? But yet if I say something illegal, you guys try to attack me? And I'm only saying that the fact is I'd rather hire them than you guys back. You can still stay home and collect your EDD. But let me hire these people who need the money and who are thankful for it.
How has the local scene been? Pasadena, have they been supportive, the city of Pasadena, to people like you?
I think we have one of the best cities in town. And I'll give you a perfect example. Long Beach has its own health department. Pasadena has its own health department, right? Majority of the thanks go to Victor Gordo. Tornik, I'm not a big fan of, and I don't like him. But when Greg from Parkway Grill, Gail from Gales, and a lot of the business owners, Armin from Ipiachi, when we all got together, Maharas, and they said, okay, we're all going to pitch in for electing Victor Gordo. Now, this is a man who, over 30 years, was in the restaurant industry, worked it. His father was in the restaurant industry and made him who he is today. And he helped us out. Tyrone Hamilton met with all the restaurateurs. John Kennedy met with all the restaurateurs. Steve Madison met with the restaurateurs.
It seemed the city of Pasadena was very leading edge in being supportive of the restaurant industry.
Because they know that the restaurant industry is what made Old Pasadena what it is today. Restaurateurs were the ones originally. People came to Old Pasadena because we, as Pasadena, we have the most restaurants around us. So we really made it. And the beautiful thing with our council and our health department, everything was, I mean, behind the scenes, they said, look, Ted, we lost all that money on the Rose Parade. We lost the money on the Rose Bowl. We have no choice. Our hands are tied that we have to listen to that idiot governor of ours. Okay? God, when he smiles like the devil smiling at you, I swear, a smirk on his face, feel like slapping him. But the beautiful thing about them is when they said the food to go, and one thing Pasadena did that was different than Long Beach and anywhere else, Pasadena said, your customers can take the food to go, but since you set up so much money in your outdoor dinings, why don't you leave your outdoor tables outside for them to sit down and eat? You're not allowed to go to them. You could call out their name, they could come and get their food. And once they leave, then you could go over there and sanitize the tables, you know. And don't think the health department was easy. Oh, no. I mean, it's a good thing. But a lot of these people think that we got away with murder, this and that, and try to... No, the health department was strict. Imagine every weekend, you're having the health department walking down the alley. You had the code enforcement walking down the alley with them. And they were guided with the Pasadena Police Department to make sure that the tables are 6 feet apart, to make sure that you have the right paperwork posted on your windows, you know.
How is your restaurant different today than it was in February, 2020? What is different about it? it's got outside seating. How about internally? What kind of changes did you have to go through?
Well, the major changes you had to go through was, okay, we went through the era where the kids were saying that the straws are killing our poor little turtles, right? So here we go. We invested all this money in the paper straws, get everything environmental friendly, to coming back to an era where I had to put that in a storage unit and start buying plastic straws that are wrapped straws, you know. And I that's one of my posts that I made was so funny. I said, hey, my environmentalists, where are you guys? I go, there's face masks on every floor now. We're using plastic straws again, you know. It was a big change because lack of sanitizing equipment, right? Originally, when they made the rules with the latex gloves and everything else, there wasn't enough for all the restaurateurs to buy these things, right? I mean, you saw what happened with Lysol and everything else. Can you imagine with the restaurant industry? You're trying to meet the requirements of the health department by having everything with the latex gloves, your face shield, your face mask covered up, sanitizers in every table, sanitizers in the bathrooms. Okay, where do we buy them from? You go to your stores, it's all sold out, you know.
How did you solve that problem?
Made some calls to some special friends in Monterey Park, a lot of my Asian friends that had shipments coming in, and pay double the price.
Huh.
Have no choice. No choice. Everything was double the price. It's like the mafia era. Everything was expensive. And then same thing right now with everything's getting, you know, everything's going to be so expensive. And I told these in my social media, don't be surprised when the gas price is going to be $5 a gallon. I go, you guys are out there protesting, but you don't protest why the gas prices are going up. You're complaining that you're saying that the gas companies got hacked. The meat companies got hacked. But yet my chicken's price doubled before anything of this happened. The lumber doubled, tripled before anything happened. The electrical equipment tripled, doubled. You know, it's an opportunity for a lot of these big corporations to make big monies. But as a restaurateur, it was hard. Not enough to-go containers because we're not allowed to use foam to-go containers. So we're stuck with the paper box containers or the plastic ones that are recyclable. But there's not enough. There was not enough trucks bringing it in. So you're wishing and hoping that you're not going to get caught on not having one supply or not having that supply.
Yeah, you had to completely change your a whole new inventory, whole new way of doing business.
Whole new staff.
So all your staff is new. And what about your indoor versus outdoor percentage now in terms of dining?
Well, look, right now, current state that a lot of the restaurants that we are at, it's a blessing. We are not used to having so much business. I don't know about some of the people. I mean, I'm speaking on my behalf. The funniest thing is that I'm looking at my system and I'm saying, I never thought I would say this to somebody. I'm sorry, do you have a reservation? And they go, no, do I need one? I'm sorry, yes, you do. I never thought I would be that person to say that, hey, I'm reservations only now, because we were set up in a way that you had to make a reservation because of the pandemic in order for somebody to sit down. We were not allowed to make customers wait in line.
But now you have to do that because there's just so much business, right?
There is so much business.
I was walking through Old Pasadena last night, and it just seemed to me, I don't think I've ever seen that much business on a Thursday night. It was just like the Christmas season, you know?
Thanks to EDD. Thanks to EDD. And I tell people, and I go, you idiots. I go, you guys got to end up paying the taxes for this EDD. You don't get it. You know, it's just that it's making people lazy. They have a lot of money, so they constantly want to go out. And I tell people, you want to see how the restaurateurs are going to be? Wait till October, November, once the EDD is over with. Because that will truly show your numbers on who's going out and who's not going out.
Sure. Because
they're getting free money. They're going out every night, you know, not realizing the effects that's going to kick in. And I try to educate these kids. I say, guys, you have to pay taxes on that EDD, the federal. Once this COVID thing is lifted, the landlord's going to kick you out. Your credit goes bad. Uncle Sam, the IRS, is going to come and put a, interest charge on your money because you didn't pay your taxes, I said. And it's going to be a downfall.
Are you expecting less business fourth quarter?
By October, I think the restaurant industry will go down, less business. The economy will go to shit. It'll be really bad. And because you already see everything going up in prices. So I know for a fact, as far as restaurateurs go, we are going to start feeling it. Because our main fear is because by that time, we're not allowed to serve alcohol to go. You can have alcohol outdoor dining anymore. That'll be gone too. And whoever has a huge patio space, they're golden for now, But you have to get ready for that change. It's a chess game. Think ahead.
Yeah, I can certainly feel and see the frustration from you with all these changes and demands and how difficult it is. The package that you deliver your message in may be tough for some people, but I can see that it stems from a real place of where you came from and actually caring about the people around you and the businesses around you in the community. And that's must be really hard for anybody to go through that, and see others go through that is really tough too. Yeah. We could go on and listen to your rants about the government and what you had to go through. For hopefully all that is behind you, and hopefully, you don't have to navigate that anymore.
But for those who want to listen to his rants, where do you go to listen to your rants?
It's Edwin Mills. Edwin Mills on Instagram that we have. And, I don't do much of ranting like you think I do. It's just that my main frustration was how everything is so unorganized. Everything was unorganized because, like I said, if we bailed out the banks, if the banks, all they had to do is freeze everybody's mortgage, that's a huge, huge help for everybody. But they did everything backwards because everybody's kissing everybody's ass. Everybody's doing everything the way they want to do it. Nobody complains why EDD gave out over $4 billion out, even to prisoners. We as taxpayers have to pay that back. Nobody complains about it. They complain about the stupidest things. Anyway, I could go on for hours.
So if you want more of that, go check out Teddy's Instagram.
Yeah.
But we want to go into a part of the show where we get to know you a little bit better and some of your favorite places or things to do in the San Gabriel Valley.
Teddy, this is our SGV3. We want to talk about 3 places that are important to you, have meaning to you in the San Gabriel Valley. Places you like, you love, places you've had great experiences in.
I would say the Huntington Library. It's somewhere to get away, to find your zen.
Very popular choice on this show many times, yeah.
Well, it's a lot of people want that little relaxation from the stress. Walking around Old Town Pasadena, appreciating the history, and now that you know about the plaques, it'll allow you to read the plaques itself.
I have one follow-up question to that. Who is allowed down, in the catacombs of the...
Each building has their own location.
Okay,
so
but they all connect?
They all used to connect.
Okay.
Right now, we're all covered up.
Oh, okay.
It's all covered up. But just the history is beautiful about it. And then in the San Gabriel Valley, I would say the old Mission Church.
Oh, yeah.
The San Gabriel Mission.
San Gabriel Mission. I mean, that's where originally everything started, with the families having the rights to own the properties and Pasadena coming and being set up from the Don Benito family.
And actually the whole city of L.A.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People don't realize that.
Did you know there's a tunnel from Albert Einstein's apartment to his business somewhere?
In Caltech?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Caltech is known for a lot of their tunnels.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. To get him out in case of an attack.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Well, now a lot of people know about the tunnels.
Yeah.
What happened to me was I was bored one day, and then I wanted to go to the historical on Orange Grove right there by the Avery Building, the old museum.
Yeah.
And they give you this little fancy white gloves to wear, because I wanted to have some pictures of my establishment. And unfortunately, the pictures that I found that I couldn't post in my website because it was a lot of lynching and everything else. Mm. But that's where I started learning because I love history. And I love reading about history. And so that's where I got more into details on what was Pasadena and how was established Pasadena and everything.
Yeah, that's the Pasadena History Museum, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there on Orange Grove next to the Avery Building.
Yeah.
And the Fenyas Mansion, actually the curator of that museum could potentially be a future guest.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So, well, Teddy, thank you so much for sharing your story, and the history of the building in that area is really, really interesting. I'm definitely going to go check out the plaques and see, what else is there. I'm sure if there's plaques there must be on the buildings that are also like on Green Street that are historical buildings.
Correct.
So once again, Teddy, how can people reach you, and what is the address of your restaurant?
Well, the address of the restaurant is 22 Mills Place. You can visit us on edwinmills.com, which is our website. And then Edwin Mills is on Instagram or Facebook. And you can follow us, like us, share us, hate us. It doesn't matter. I still like myself, so awesome. I love life.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. And for the listeners, thank you for spending this time with us and learning a little bit more about the people that really make up this community in the San Gabriel Valley. So thanks again, Teddy.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind mother.